Dr. Dyllon Mawn from the Source Chiropractic.
Hello, hello. It's so great to be here. This stage does move. You were like, it moves, and I'm like, yeah, no, it moves a lot. All right, we're gonna talk about trust today. I have a couple intentions with this talk. First intention is I believe that trust is something that does need to be earned. I don't think it should just be given freely, and it's my goal that you'll get to experience a bit of trust today by most of the room not knowing who I am, and hopefully within the next 30 minutes, by the end of this, you will feel trust within me. I also want to tell you a good story, because I like to teach in story, and really my whole life, as I continue to move through it, every time that I look back at a new chapter, it deepens my relationship with trust. Bree's been trying to get me on this stage for a little while now, and it just so happened that this month I'm on paternity leave. My wife and 13-day-old baby are in the back, and I was like, hey, when is the talk in July? Because I'm gonna have some time. And she's like, it's on the 20, whatever day it is, 26. It's all blurring together right now. And she's like, it's on the 26th, and I'm like, what's the topic? She goes, trust, and I go, perfect. I can crush that one. If you don't have if you don't have a speaker, I'll jump on that stage. And here we are. So, who am I? My name's Dr. Dyllon. I own the Source Chiropractic. I've been chasing this thing about deepening into the concept of healing since I was 15 years old, when I watched my dad go into a chiropractor's office just for typical low back pain, and 1 month later, his fast and slow-acting insulin was dropped down by 75%. That was pretty mind-blowing to my entire family because all he had changed was starting to see this chiropractor. We started learning about the concept of how your brain and your body are connected. Your body needs to talk to your brain needs to talk to your body. That's how your body heals, regulates, evolves, and grows. If there's interference within that nervous system, you can start to create dysfunction, dis-ease, and that often leads to disease. Fast forward 17 years later, and here I am. I decided when I was 15 that chiropractic was exactly what I was called to do. I was a 15-year-old kid, and I knew two things in my life. I knew that I was going to marry that woman, and I knew that I was going to be a chiropractor. And I spent the rest of my life, up until just a few years ago, I graduated 5 years ago, chasing those dreams. I also got married 5 years ago. And along the way, when you're chasing dreams that large, from such a young age, there's a lot of surrender and there's a lot of trust. We're gonna go through the whole story because that's how I believe that you build trust with people, by being fully authentic, by being exactly who you are, and by allowing that to resonate out. Because at the truth of the matter, the depth of all of us is the essence of love, right? And so the truth of who you are, beneath all the bullshit, beneath all the trauma, beneath anything that is causing you to not really show up exactly the way that you'd like to, it's love. And so I believe that if I show up today and I bear it all out and show you exactly who I am and tell you my story, that you'll get to feel what trust feels like. Because trust is also a vibration. It's a frequency. It's something you can feel when you're around someone who's trustworthy, right? So Christine and I, high school sweethearts. It wasn't a perfect story. We had a really rough breakup my senior year, and we were apart for all of undergrad. When we broke up, neither of us wanted to. It was rather reluctant, but we were both super heartbroken from the situation that had happened between us. Our mentorship at the time said, listen, you're 17 and 18 years old. You two are madly in love, but you're also really young, and you have your whole life ahead of you. If you're meant to be together, it'll happen. If you're not, blessings. But right now, you two need some space. You two need to heal. You two need to sink into who you are as individuals, and then you need to get clear and see what's possible. So reluctantly, kicking and screaming, with a couple hookups along the way, we did that. And we separated, we went our separate paths, and I went off to UCF. We both grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida, South Florida, East Coast. I went off to UCF. We were completely separate from one another, and I started living my life. She started living her life. We both found new people. We found pretty much opposites of the avatars that we are in each other's lives. I did fall in love again with someone else. Here's the first bomb that we're going to drop in the theme of trust. I actually got married. I found a woman that was the polar opposite of Christine in every way, and I was falling for her. And as things went forward, and I'm a young, hormonal, crazy in love kid, I thought everything was right, and I married this girl. Rough decision. I won't say worst decision, but definitely took me down the dark night of my soul. That ended very quickly, with a lot of fire, with a lot of pain, with a lot of tears, and a lot of processing. As I got through that, we ended up reconnecting. And when we had reconnected, it was the first time in our lives that both of us were single, that both of us had some space, and we were going to be friends, and that was impossible. Because we both had this feeling of the one that got away, the one that I lost. There had been so many years, so much had changed. I had gone through all of undergrad. She had done her thing, and here we were, two new people reconnecting, and the biggest thing that we actually had to overcome for our relationship to go the distance was trust. What broke us up in undergrad was a breaking of trust between us. And what had caused that was the fact that I was getting ready to go away to undergrad, and we were going to be long distance. And that long distance started to rattle our cage. Here we are getting back together. I always had this plan of being a chiropractor. I'm about to move to Atlanta. So what did I tell her? I said, listen, I love you, and if we're going to do this, you can't come with me to Atlanta. And she said, why? And I said, because the perception and the fear of distance is what broke us up before. That's what shattered us. And the only way that we'll know that we can go the distance and that we really are meant to be together is that we can overcome this. I've always been on this path. I've always been wanting to be a chiropractor, and I don't want to live the rest of our life with you just following me. I don't want to live the rest of our life with you just being, a sidecar to where I'm going. I want to be with a partner that is doing something in life, that is chasing their own dreams, and I want to be with someone that I know that we have a rock-solid foundation of trust. So we spent the next 4 years, long distance between West Palm and Atlanta. And then for that last year, while we were engaged long distance, she moved to Oakland to go work with one of my mentors. While I was in chiropractic school, everything started to change for me. The reason why I got married so young is because I grew up in the church. And this is no stab on the church, but a lot of people in the church do get married very young. And in my mentorship and my guidance, it was, yes, you should marry this girl. And so I did that. Going into chiropractic school, I was so convicted about the way that I was living my life, as I typically am. I'm an Aquarius. And in that conviction, it was the depth of the Holy Spirit, right? My family growing up had gone through a ton of healing. My dad is, I think, 21 or 22 years sober right now. And so at the time, he was somewhere around 10 years sober. And the way that he found sobriety was actually through the church. And so I wasn't a kid that grew up being told you have to believe in God, being told this is the way that it is. I grew up watching a family that went from calling the cops to dad being drunk and mom and dad fighting in the kitchen, protecting my brothers and sisters, to a family that my dad's now a deacon at his church. My parents are in love with each other in the Lord. They're super happy. My dad's sober. And I saw real healing happen by the love of something more than yourself, by the love of God, by the connection to a community. And so the Christian faith was my life. Now I get into chiropractic school and I start learning how to facilitate healing with my hands. And that was the most transformative process I've ever been through in this life. It really started to shake a lot of my core beliefs and stories on those core beliefs. I even started to have different perception into what I had read my entire life from what Jesus was doing, because I started to experience people healing by just these cracks, by just these adjustments, by just this, it grew all the way to the point of just intention of laying my hands on people. I started to realize like, oh, the power of prayer, the power of intention, putting my hands on people. This started to shake a lot of my perceived understanding of reality, of the world, of the God situation, of creation, of healing, of existence, of all of it. I started diving deep into quantum physics, deep into meditation, deep into spirituality. I started to unbox my perception of religion into more of so a perception into what is the creation of life and what is spirituality and the nature of this physical experience that we're in that is clearly so much more than physical. There's clearly energy and spirit and emotion and all these other things that are not measurable physically, but they definitely exist. So as I'm going into this, my long-distance girlfriend is watching the love of her life and her partner completely transform before her eyes while she's not even there with me. The amount of trust that I felt within her gave me the ability to explore, gave me the ability to feel loved and to feel safe in exploring and challenging my own beliefs and seeing what else was out there and what else was possible and what really resonates with me. What it also caused me to do was to look inside and to ask myself, what is going on here and what's real, what's up, what's down, and what do I trust? I started getting really, really, really familiar with what the vibration and the frequency of trust is. And I could take this back to a couple things because I knew when I was 15, as a 15-year-old kid, I'm now saying it at 32, I remember when I was 15 sitting in the back of my mom's Tahoe saying, Mom, I'm going to be a chiropractor. And my sweet, loving mother was like, that's amazing. Awesome. And I'm like, no, like I'm serious. Like I found it. Didn't ever have the courage to tell people I was going to marry her because I saw how the chiropractic thing went and I'm like, okay, no 15-year-old knows who he's going to marry and knows his career. But I knew what it felt like within me. I knew what it felt like in my body. For me, I feel it right here in my solar plexus. I feel it bubbling come up. I feel it opening out. To be honest, all night last night before this talk, I was feeling the same thing. Right? Some people might even call it anxiety. Some people might call it nerves or something you're feeling in your stomach, a gut instinct, right? Your body is so intelligent. The intuition of your body is incredible, and it can be trained with trust, right? So I'm going through this, and I'm looking back, and I'm recognizing that there's been a couple major moments in my life that I believed and I trusted in so much that as I stepped away and gave it enough space and surrender, I've watched these things actually happen. Because here I am years later from wanting to be a chiropractor, and I'm going to chiropractic school. Here I am years later from wanting to marry this girl, and we're back together and better than ever, even though we're long distance. I'm like, okay, this whole like trust the process thing might be legit. And then I'm learning how to adjust people. I'm learning how to facilitate healing because, by the way, little sidebar, no one is a healer other than you. You are your own healer. When you're working with healers or people that are helping you heal, they're facilitating your own healing. And so I don't call myself a healer. I call myself a facilitator of healing. And so as I'm learning how to do this, I'm playing with trust. Sure, there's the aspects of the body where the brain talks to the body through this nerve and da-da-da, and I can sort of like explain it all logically, which helps our conscious mind trust the unknown, trust the trust. But beyond all of that, I've seen miracles. And I started seeing miracles in school when I was going on mission trips and other experiences, and even experiencing them myself by being adjusted by incredible masters and experiencing things that are completely psychedelic in nature. And I started to realize, wow, there is so much that we don't know. There is so much that I don't know. There is so much that we are not supposed to know. Because we're here in the third dimension. And there's multiple dimensions, right? But we're here mastering the third dimension. What is the third dimension? The third dimension is the dimension of the heart. It's the dimension of love. It's the dimension of feeling. I can break this down to make it real simple. It's not all that woo-woo. The fourth and fifth dimension, mental and spiritual, there's not feelings there. You can think about all you want, but you feel it here. You can sit here and think about the worst thing possible that's not even real. And if you go deep enough with that, you can have a real physical feeling right now. You can go the opposite direction and think about your biggest, wildest dream and it coming true for you and what that feels like in you, right? This is the art of manifestation. You visualize it, you know where you're going, then you feel it, you bring the two together, and when you get there, it will look like what you saw and it will feel like what you felt. This human experience is a fucking trip. It is wildly magical. It is amazing. And all you have to do is surrender and lean into trust. The way that you lean into trust and the way that you surrender is first by knowing what trust feels like for you. Trust is going to feel like your authentic self. Trust is going to feel like an opening. Trust is going to feel like possibilities that are awaiting for you that you can walk into. It's going to feel like an open door. It's going to feel warm. It's going to feel comforting. It's going to feel safe. That's what trust is going to feel like. You give it all the context so that your logical mind can understand what trust feels like, and now you can navigate through life on how to follow trust, how to be guided by something that is above you, that is beyond you, that is something that you can't understand. My story goes on. I failed a couple classes while I was in school, and that was the hardest shit for me. Because here I am, wanting to be a chiropractor since I was 15. Now I'm in school, and I failed 2 classes, and both of these classes each put me back a whole quarter, a whole semester, right? So it wasn't just fail a class and then add it on. It's because the classes stack and you have to get them done in order, you're back a whole quarter. So chiropractic school took me an extra 6 months. Here I am on a timeline, guys. I got a woman to marry. I got a life to start. I've been wanting this my whole life. And I remember talking on the phone with my dad after I failed my first class. And he said, Dylan, 10 years from now, will this matter? I'm like, no. He said, how far is this setting you back? I said, 3 months. Quarters are 3 months in chiropractic school. I said, 3 months. And he said, in 10 years, is 3 months going to matter? And I said, no. And he said, in 5 years, is 3 months going to matter? I said, probably not. And he said, then let it go. Trust the process. What failing that first class did for me was it allowed me to actually go modified in school, which gave me a lot more space. Also gave me a little bit more government money because I had a little bit more time. So I took that money, I took that time, and I invested in myself, and I went to every seminar, every workshop, every extracurricular activity I possibly could while I was in school. I started creating my own way of going through chiropractic school. I went to 60 seminars on top of a full doctorate program, traveling the country, learning how to do this thing at a really high level. That, years later, empowered me to graduate and crush it straight out of school because I had the space and the time to go to all this extra stuff to become great while I was still learning how to become great. If I didn't trust the process, I could have blocked myself from that experience. If I would have gotten stuck on my ego failing a class and therefore falling behind and all of this judgment and shame and guilt and doubt and fear, I don't know where I would have gone. But instead I said, yo, this is happening for a reason. I've seen everything before me that I didn't like happen for a reason. So let's see what this reason is. And let's walk through the next door, right? This allowed me to join this club that didn't even exist prior to me slowing down. Joining this club that now is a global company training chiropractors how to do this thing at a really great level, and I'm one of the facilitators in it. It allowed me to connect with a whole new community of people. It allowed me to find a job 2 years from graduation that we shipped Christine off to go be the manager of that office a year before I even got there, it set up so many different things. Trust, right? I'm out of school, practicing in Oakland, California, and COVID hits. COVID hits my first year that I graduated. I graduated in September, didn't finish boards until December, and so I really got the ball going in January 2020. Loans are supposed to hit March 2020. Here's the deal. COVID hit Oakland real hard, guys. It's part of the reason I'm back in Florida. It hit Oakland hard. It shut everything down. It was really tough. And here I am, a brand new doc, and I'm like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to lean in. We're going to trust the process. We're going to stand on our principles, and we're going to keep going. I ended up having a phenomenal first year as a chiropractor. I think I cleared $220,000 in care in my first year, that year being the COVID year. We leaned in. We trusted the principles that we lived on, which for us are a holistic healing principle, which I think now there's been enough time to look back and realize like there's a couple ways we can go about colds and flus, and maybe the way that the nation decided to go like wasn't the best. And so by leaning into truth in health and healing and following the trust in that, which by the way in Oakland was very hard to do. I had people morbidly obese telling me that I was the problem, that I was the one that was going to be spreading things around. Meanwhile, I'm helping people heal by staying open, that I should have closed and not helped people heal. Super tough, right? Trust, leaning in, trusting something bigger than when your mind says, oh, this is too hard, I just need to stop, let me just give in and like take the easy road. Trust what is for you, right? While we were in Oakland, we lost our dog. And losing our dog was also super tough. And right before we lost that dog, he got really sick. When he got really sick, we were in the process of getting ready to move to St. Pete, and I thought that I was going to move into 1701. I had the apartment picked out. We were ready to go. When he got sick, the medicine that he was on was a diuretic, and so he had to go to the bathroom every 3 hours. I was not about to walk in and out of an apartment every 3 hours all night long with a Great Dane, okay? So we said, no apartment. I knew that I was coming to this city to build a community. And so where a community is built in Florida? Around water. I needed a pool. And if I'm not going to have an apartment with a pool to connect, I need to find a house that has a pool. We could not find jack shit on the market to rent with a pool. Here I am, and all the money that I have saved up is designed to go into opening my new business, because I'm about to jump ship, leave my job, start over with nothing in a community that I know no one, without a practice, without a house, without anything, and just 50 grand sitting in the bank. Well, I come home one day from work, my wife's sitting there, and she goes, can we buy a house? I'm like, does it have a pool? She says, it's got a pool. Shows me everything on this house. I'm like, yeah, let me look at the house. Shows me everything on the house. We are not house hunting to buy. This is the 2021 market when things were nuts, right? I look at this house, and I look at the house, and I feel the trust inside of me, and I'm like, oh shit, that's the house. This is the house I've always visualized for us, for our family, for what we're gonna grow, for all of it. And I'm like, babe, we don't have the money for this. Like, all of the money is to open the practice. Like, how are we going to do this? Like, I don't know if we even have time to get a business loan. We're supposed to leave in a couple months. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if we'll get approved. She says, oh, I've talked to your mom about everything. I'm just, like, ready to run the credit. She thinks we can do it. I'm like, what? The house was on the market for 24 hours. We put an offer in sight unseen. We were third place in the offer. There was 14 offers that came in 24 hours. Third place. I told the real estate agent, I said, listen, I'm not coming from a place of cockiness or arrogance. I work in a spiritual way, and I'm telling you, this house is for us. This is a house that is being delivered to us from spirit. I can see it. I can feel it. We're coming to the city to do all these great things. This is going to be a house that builds community. Whatever offer I need to make a very aggressive offer, I need to get this house, and it's going to happen. She goes, okay. So we put the offer in, escalation clause, third place. She calls me, listen, third place, obviously you didn't get the house, but the buyers really liked you. And I'm like, cool. Like, doesn't really matter to me. And she's like, well, they said if you'll up it 5,000, then you can be in second place. And I'm like, Christine, can we up it 5,000 to be in second place and still not get the house? And she's like, yeah. So we did it. A week later, the other original buyers, that was a cash offer way over through the ceiling, came, didn't like the color of the house, had like a couple blemishes that they didn't like, and they pulled out. We got the house. The first house I ever put an offer on, the first house I ever tried to buy, sight unseen, across the country. I asked my real estate agent, I said, listen, the other buyer backed out. Should I be worried here? Should I be backing out? Are there problems? Like, I'm putting a lot of trust in you right now. I'm across the country. I'll book a flight if I need to. She's like, Dylan, there is not another house in St. Pete that is anything like this. When you get here, you will realize what you've got. Now that I've been here a couple years, holy blessing. That house for the first year that we were here served as the landing pad for my entire team. I've been here since 2021. We opened our practice in November of 2021, opened our second location in Dunedin, January 2023. That's 14 months apart. My team went from 2 people to 14 people in 14 months. And all these people moving in are my friends from chiropractic school, people that I've trained, people that I've known for years. None of them are strangers, and all of them are dead broke students. As well as me, a dead broke, just put all my money into buying a house, pinching pennies to launch a business, and I'm like, listen, guys, I'd love to do this together, but I can't give you a salary that's gonna like be anything good. I'm just now getting started. Like, I don't have enough to go around, but here's what I can do. I bought a 4-bedroom house. It's only Christine and I that live here. If you wanna move here for your first 3 to 6 months while you're getting on your feet, I will teach you everything I know, and I will have you performing in a damn good way in 3 to 6 months. You can live with me for free. I'll buy groceries. You know, you can pitch in on groceries here and there, but like, I'll cover your room and board so that you can actually like do this contract. Because the contracts I have for my docs are low floor, no ceiling, right? It worked. For our entire first year of living in this home, our home was home base. And it allowed everyone that joined my team to move to St. Pete, have a place to land so that they can be serving out of abundance and not out of scarcity, feeling like they need you to come in and be their client, but like they can actually help you because you need them and their healing facilitation, right? So that was all these answered prayers. The day after we closed on the house, the dog that we bought the house for passed away. And it was the most beautiful passing ever. Because what we knew in the depths of our hearts was, if it was not for Atlas Magoo, we wouldn't have even looked at houses. We loved the corner unit 1701. It's a sick spot, right? But by trusting the challenges that were showing up for me, by leaning in and by saying, hey, there's probably something here, let's figure it out. Let's follow Spirit's guide. And really the ability to know that, again, is because I know what it feels like. It was able to be exactly what we needed. We get to St. Pete. Christine finally gets to have her dream come true. I wanted to be a chiropractor. She's always wanted to be a mom. And so after we get the businesses launched and my 2 first babies, Source 1 and Source 2, get going, we start trying. Actually, we just started being open. And so we started not trying. 3 times. Boom! Pregnant. Amazing! Right on time. This is perfect. Everything's happening the way it's supposed to. Look at this. It's easy. 3 months later, miscarriage. That is the hardest thing I think most people will ever go through, especially because you feel like you're alone and then you realize you're not alone and that a lot of people are going through this as well. But there's not a lot of talk about it. Every month, my wife, when she would have her period again, it was like re-traumatizing because we went through the whole process at home in our bathroom. So every time that she would bleed, it was like just a reminder of all of that. And it was especially difficult because here I am, the holistic, healthy guy with the healthy wife, and we can't have a kid. The thing that we've wanted our whole life. And here I am wondering, did I make a massive mistake in asking my wife to wait so that I could get settled before we start our family? Did I make huge mistakes in not trying to start this family sooner because, we're pushing into our 30s now? We tried for 16 months. 16 months. We were doing everything. Hormone regulation, chiropractic, diet, exercise, meditation. She did hypnotherapy. We see our therapist now every other week. At the time, it was weekly. Like, everything you can think of, we were doing. But what was interesting was this whole time that we were going through it is a bit easier for me to trust. I was able to get to a rock-solid place sooner in saying, listen, this is going to happen in the perfect timing. We're going to be parents no matter what. Christine had the hardest time surrendering into that and trusting that. Rightfully so. Every month she's being reminded of the time it didn't work. What I watched her go through over those 16 months was this evolution of herself, this digging deep into who she is, and this realization that it's hard for her to trust things that are outside of her control. Even though we had so many different examples, our relationship, my career, the practice, the house. There's a crazy story in the practice, but I'm really short on time. Like all of these different things, and I keep reminding her, look, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You just gotta trust. And it was hard for her to get there. It took a long time. And then October of last year, we were at the Closey concert here in Janice. We're big EDM people, if you can't tell. We're at the Closey concert. And we were dabbling in some of the sacred medicines, right? A little funny, but also really magical. Because what that does is it gets you out of your regular mind. It gets you out of how you're thinking on a regular basis. It gets you out of these ruts that create beliefs, that create patterns, that then create what your body is actually doing, right? Gets you out of manifesting the shit that you don't want and allows you to open up to what's possible. At this concert, she turns around and looks at me and she's crying. And she said, I feel like I'm a terrible friend. I said, why? She said, I'm surrounded by all of our friends right now, and I realize that I haven't let any of them in for the last year. I've kept them all at an arm distance, even though they love me so much. I've been so selfish and self-consumed in my own inability of getting pregnant that I haven't even allowed myself to become close with Marielle and Mila and all these other amazing girls that are in my life. And I'm realizing right now that our life is perfect. I'm realizing right now that I have everything that I want, everything that I need, and that life is good. She said, honey, we're going to have a baby someday. And if it's not from me, we'll adopt. I surrender. I trust that it's going to happen. 3 days later. 3 fucking days later. Pregnant. We find out at the end of the month, holy shit, we're pregnant. And then she's blessed with the easiest, smoothest, healthiest pregnancy I've ever seen. She's getting adjusted weekly. She's doing all the things. She didn't have morning sickness, guys. Like nothing. She used to get migraines, and we've been trying to navigate that for our entire life. Second try hits, she starts eating like a linebacker. We realize, honey, you might be getting migraines all your life because you're a little malnourished, okay? She went from 108 pounds pre-pregnant to 170 pounds before she gave birth. She put on some girth, right? And we realized, like, oh, wow, this is like all these different things. Like, so she loses her migraines. She's having the most beautiful pregnancy. She's freaking glowing. She's hilarious again. She's like the woman that I fell in love with when we were in high school. Wow, she's got swollen feet and starting to waddle and growing out here and can't fit in any of her clothes. And I'm like, babe, you're literally glowing. Your essence is the essence that I fell in love with. Then we have our perfect birth story that we always wanted. a beautiful home birth, 10 hours of labor. Guys, part of the labor, we were chilling in our pool, like just floating. I got you, babe. Contraction coming. Okay, breathe, 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 and relax, right? Most intense thing I've ever seen, but most incredible thing I've ever seen. When Mako got here, I always anticipated the first cry to being like this really traumatic cry of like, console the baby, make sure he feels safe, like calm him down. It wasn't that at all. The entire day, every time we checked on his heartbeat, 135, chilling. When she's pushing with everything she has, between contractions, 135, chilling. The midwife started laughing because they were like, listen, sweetheart, I know you're going through it, but your baby in there is chill, which is all a birthing mother wants to hear. He comes out, chill, cries a little bit, gets the phlegm out, lays on mommy's belly, and before he could even have his first feeding, he has his first poop. Which as a doctor, you know, is such a big sign, such an awesome sign because it shows he's in a parasympathetic, healthy state and he's not traumatized, right? All this to say, trust has been the dominant theme in my life when I look back and reflect. Because when I live in alignment and I follow love and I stay authentic and I trust the process, I can see from bird's eye view. I can see how it's all happening. It's all unraveling. It's all going in the right direction. This is how you start to access living life in abundance and with maximum freedom. It's the ultimate superpower. It happens when you can learn what the feeling of trust feels like. That will only happen when you get clear and connected with your body, with your mind, with your spirit. It doesn't happen when you're hopped up on pharmaceuticals. It doesn't happen when you're running from pain. It doesn't happen when you're avoiding problems. It happens when you lean in. It happens when you trust the process. It happens when you look for guidance and support, not running from, but running towards. And it can happen for every single one of you. There's nothing unique or special about me that's any different than any of y'all. When you start to live in a vibration that is in resonance of love, your decisions will be in resonance of love, and that is in resonance of truth. Do not follow fear. Do not give into fear. Do not trust fear. Trust love. There's only ever love or fear. The love is an opener. It pulls you in. It's attractive. It's this like gravitational thing, right? The fear closes you down. It pushes you out. It says you can't. It's all these like small, minimizing, separating, disconnecting pieces, right? Don't give in to the fear. Follow the love, even when it's hard. You will learn how to navigate life with trust. And when you're navigating life with trust, you will unlock your greatest superpower. Thank you.